nachos, amigos, and welcome to Record Breakers, a music podcast where a group of friends gather together to share music with each other, an album at a time. It's like a book club, but for music. I'm Petey Rave. Here with me is my team, my squad, my crew, my quorum. We've got David.
Brett, just admit it. You're a big Rick Derringer stan.
Mm-hmm. We've got Brett.
Hoy hoy. I do not have any novelty things around, but I do have one dash measure.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. If you need to measure a dash.
Precisely. Yes. And we've got Drew.
You said dash, and I definitely thought you were going to say something else that started with D.
David? No, he already introduced me.
Drew, yes. Yes, I'm gonna. Yeah,
Brett's gonna dab on.
Let me get my dab nail out. Like, I don't.
I don't
I'm not the one to talk to about that. There's other people in this house you could talk to. I'm not in that industry.
By the way, before we get started, everyone take their mandatory sip of their hydration of choice. Remember, since this is Twitch, hydrate or dihydrate.
Yes. I've got the containers. I had the dice from last night's episode of D&D, but they're empty now because I put them in my bag of hoarding. Also, within reach, but I promise not to eat them during the episode, is a half full bag of Ruffles. Just because. It's just right here.
The Ruffles.
And I
had no drink, but I had an espresso bean.
Because we had a birthday party in my house, and I did in fact
I have no drink and I must sip.
I did in fact do the classic dip the Ruffles in the cake frosting.
Wow.
That I like to do. But
is this your Oreos and nacho cheese situation?
Oh God.
What the hell?
That's
it's a little less. It's a little less odd than that. I think, but similar in the sweet.
Would you call that weird?
That has all kinds of raisins and potato salad energy, and I'm just gonna move on.
Yeah, we're gonna move
weird,
on.
Petey.
Yes. I definitely am weird. We're here to talk about a weird album. We're here to talk about an album provided by Brett. Brett, what have you got for us this week?
Well, I mean, as you see up there in above my head, you see we have Weird Al Yankovic's album, Even Worse. And by the cover, it's probably that one. No, yes. Not that one, that one.
Yes.
No, not that one, the other one.
The other one.
The one where he parodies Michael Jackson.
So
no, not that one.
I'm bringing this one specifically is last episode, like I said, this is kind of Daisy's fault because we had a younger friend over here who we wanted to share the finest of cinema, and we came across the fine picture, The Naked Gun. And there's a pretty famous scene in The Naked Gun that features one Weird Al Yankovic, and it's about the time this album came out, and I was like, man, Weird Al, he's been around forever, he's done it forever, and he does it better than he ought to, and he has wide appeal beyond people who are children or so. It's like there's like 800 Weird Al's. There's like as many Weird Al albums as Rush albums. Why don't I bring another one of those? So here we are.
Yeah.
Now, did you show your friend the cinema classic UHF, Brett?
Not yet. UHF is a thing that is hard to translate because if you got to be like, hey, back in the day, you used to have extra channels over and analog antenna signals. Like it's a little different, but
but you could show her the
Anthony Edwards
sandwich.
As a nerd. No.
Twinkie Wiener sandwich.
Webster's dictionary defines the Twinkie Wiener sandwich.
I think somebody tried it and thought and realized that it's actually not bad.
Coming up next on Binging with Babish.
I think it might have been Babish.
It might have been Babish.
Yes.
I mean,
I didn't even do that on purpose, everybody. I just threw that out there.
I feel like, that sounds like just a perfect Babby thing. But
move on. I'm going to double check. But
speaking of odd food, and such. Speaking of binging, let's talk about expectation. David, what expectations did you have coming into this album?
I usually am more inclined towards the 90s and 2000s Weird Al, but of course, everyone knows the song Fat. Everyone knows that song.
Shamon.
I was looking forward to this, quite frankly. Ding dong. Ding dong, man. Ding dong.
Yes. Drew, what were your expectations coming into this album?
Well, I think I've made my feelings on Weird Al known on this podcast once or twice before. So I kind of knew what I was getting into. I know the shtick. I know the schlocky nature of it. So I was prepped for it.
Were you prepared for Danny Elfman dunks? Were you ready for Velvet Elvis? Did you know what you were getting into with a fake "I got my mind set on you"?
Yes.
With a mid to late '80s Weird Al, I had a good idea.
Fake Beastie Boys.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Into my exact thoughts.
Yeah. I had an idea of what to expect. It was just a matter of like what to expect jumping back into this, especially diving into a Weird Al album. Especially it's always an interesting thing to go back to albums you remember through and through but haven't listened to in a while. But yeah. Let's talk about this album musically. Brett, how would you describe this album musically?
Well, for one, I have not listened to this album, but before now I was in junior high the last time I listened to this front to back, and like I forgot a lot of this stuff even happened. Is that Shin Chan? Got Shin Chan in the house? But no, Al, like Al does a great job. Let's just get that out of the way. The vocal harmonies always hit. The enunciation on lyrics, fantastic. Way better than's required from parody music. Like the musicians on this album are the real fucking deal. Like these are like legit musicians. Like there's a point in this song that is very much like a Police song. Not like and there's some drums going on. There is so much mallet percussion done on one of these songs that like impressed me. And there's always just enough cheesy MIDI. Like, you got to have the cheesy MIDI that, like, sounds just bad. But, like, it's not exactly songs for children. In fact, I don't know that kids, like, I was a kid. I didn't get all of it. Like, you can get some of it. It's Weird Al. But as, like, there's some depth to these tracks. And humor being something that ages the least well. It normally is something that being funny is hard to like predict where society is going to go next, but they're definitely going there. And like this sort of dodges that a little bit, but when we get into songs, we'll do that. But like those songs aren't made for children. They wouldn't make this music the same way today, and certainly he does not. But it's definitely a performance art, but for the time, it's pretty tame. And fairly wholesome, in most of it. And I find that very strange. There's also Rick Derringer, who Al, you may know as guy who played the Eddie Van Halen solo on Eat It. He also, Mean Gene Okerlund, Rock and Roll Hoochie Coo, Google it.
You stand him.
I mean, Rick Derringer does, like, the more I think about it, like the things that Rick Derringer has done, like, oh, he knows the groove. Like, well, of course he knows the groove. He hung out with the guys that fucking Frankenstein grooves. Rock and Roll Hoochie Coo is kind of bad, but it's that. So I'm like, oh, cool. But you would never think Weird Al. That guy had some career shifts. Like, definitely going places. So there's like, people showed up to the studio to do some work. Like this is like for a goof. Like this is ridiculous stuff. And people showed up to make good music.
Michael absolutely loved him.
Yeah.
They put the effort in.
I think Michael got
more
it.
effort than necessary.
He let him use the set for his video.
Yeah. I think he
Michael got it.
Yeah.
I mean,
He didn't just get it. He loved
and
it.
Al seems to be a pretty good guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Yes. David, how would you describe this album musically?
Weird Al Yankovic is a national treasure. He should be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. He should have already been the halftime show for the Super Bowl several times over.
He's been relevant to be able to do that at least 3 times in my life.
Several times over.
Yeah.
However, I think a lot of times Al can be the victim of the material he's parodying. And I think it kind of shows up here on this album. The playing is good. The songwriting is fine. But I think it is obviously very, very 80s. And it covers the gamut of the 80s. I said at the top that when it comes to Weird Al, my favorites are usually in between like the late 90s and the 2000s.
Wow.
If you enjoy the things that came out in the 80s, this will probably be more your flavor.
David,
was it mine?
Bad Hair Day? Are you at post Bad Hair Day? Are you a Running with Scissors guy?
Running with Scissors, yeah.
Okay, I was a Bad Hair Day guy in before, so.
Although I did put here in my notes Running with Scissors and Bad Hair Day.
Yeah, because I was like, I was like 5th grade. Perfect time for me.
Mm-hmm.
Bad Hair Day was the Coolio one, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Bad Hair Day and Running with Scissors were the two.
No.
When I was a preteen boy, which is, I believe, the perfect age.
But I do think he kept it up pretty well through the 2000s. Like, I really enjoyed Alpocalypse from 2011 as well. So I think he's maintained a pretty consistent quality.
I'm gonna say
for
it again,
years.
I don't mean this to be rude. I'm gonna do the thing again. Was Alpocalypse the Chameleonaire one?
Yes. No. That was Straight Outta Linwood from 2006. That was Straight Outta Linwood.
So which one was Alpocalypse?
Alpocalypse was the one, I believe. Well, it was with Perform This Way and Polka Face.
Okay.
2 Lady Gaga songs. Gotta love that.
I mean, Lady Gaga was making some hits.
Yeah, she was.
So you think Bad Hair Day, that was 12, 14 years into Weird Al, and we were kids coming up. So like there are people that are like way older than us that have childhood memories of Weird Al. Yeah. And there are people who are way younger than us that are today having Weird Al moments. And that's fucking weird.
Mandatory Fun from 2014.
Exactly.
That was, I will admit it, the parody Handy that was supposed to be the Iggy Azalea Charlie XCX one. That one is a jam.
My number one here.
Drew, how would you describe this album musically?
It's sort of pointed that we all mentioned like when we found them and like the age we were around that, right? Weird Al is something where there are some good bits, there are some good jokes, there's some inventive music, but I think for me personally, like Brett said, a lot of comedy is suggestive, not suggestive.
A lot of comedy can be suggestive.
It can be suggestive. But subjective is the word I'm going for.
Yeah.
Not all the jokes land. A lot of them just don't. I think there was 2 real good jokes in here for me. And parody for me is something. Again, we mentioned the album by. Was it the album that did this one? Was it like
the one? What has?
It's this weird thing where he can hit the zeitgeist so well, which is why I think he only drops albums like once every 6 years or something ridiculous.
Or at least
he goes a long time between albums, but when he makes an album, there's always those 1 or 2 bits that always kind of hit. and it does run the gamut. We all found him. I think it sounds like for the most part we found him when we were not teens quite yet, but like that pre-teenish sort of stage, 12, 13-ish sort of era. And I think that's where a lot of people find them, right?
Al TV and Al TV 2.0.
But it's the songs are iconic. Like there's no denying that. And he's been doing it for years. So obviously it hits for a lot of people. But it just, to me, there is one thing that's hugely missing that I always love from Weird Al, which is when he flexes his musical chops and is like, I'm going to rearrange. I'm not going to do parody. I'm going to rearrange a bunch of songs into a polka, which didn't happen. I love when he does that. It's fucking cool. And when he does like 11-minute epics about going to New Mexico on Running with Scissors.
Trapped in the Drive-Thru is a fucking masterpiece.
Yeah.
Albuquerque is like Albuquerque as far as like just jokes, I think is one of the best things, because it takes another thing that like is a very niche joke and almost makes a joke on that, which is Alice's Restaurant, which is a thing that I'm referencing in the middle of a Weird Al fucking
timely.
Yeah. I'm fucking old man, I don't care.
You are.
But that's the thing is, like we'll get into the next part. There's some that hit, but it's well done. It's better than it deserves to be. But
there's some particular circumstances there, especially if you look up the album, the Wikipedia. The fact that this Weird Al is like it lives in certain eras and trends and has lately had big gaps in his album releases. This wasn't that. It wasn't the fact back then, because it was like every year he had an album, or every couple of years. This was like every year he had an album, and then this was 2 years after the previous album, which was Polka Party, which bombed. So you kind of like you realize that like he may have been at this moment a little gun shy with what he had been doing previously, and wanted to try something new. But I think that this is a really cool album to like look at for a transitioning and like a trying things out kind of a thing, because this is the first album where like he started getting attention for his originals and his like parodies,
the pastiches that he does.
Yeah, the pastiches and like the outright originals. And like this came out when I was a little kid, I was 4 going on 5 when this album came out. And I would say the late 80s, early 90s Weird Al may have been something that was like on my radar at least. And it's funny to like people think, to me it's weird to think of the Running with Scissors and Poodle Hat as the core Weird Al, when that's actually, even to me, that's like, oh, that's like maturing Weird Al and then transitioning into like his ultra new stuff. Where his core was like when he was doing Michael Jackson parodies and UHF and things like that. That was his like core beginnings and like early middle.
The MTV stuff, like being on the Naked Gun.
Yes. But yeah, I think this album is fun, and we talk about like the musicianship. Comedy music kind of has, where you make comedy music, and I think it's one of the things where why I don't usually enjoy some like comedy music out of comedic context, which is weird. I don't know if that makes sense as a sentence. I'm gonna shout out to say Starbomb, when it's one of the reasons. This is probably not a shout out. One of the reasons like I when I would look up auto-generated nerdcore playlists or nerdcore playlists on Spotify, and would be thrown off when they would throw in Starbomb in there, is because I'm in the middle of me listening to like dope raps with like passionate, nerdy lyrics and things like that. You have these just comedy songs, which are mixed like comedy songs, and don't feel like music. I'm like, I'm listening to music. I'm not listening to jokes right now. And one of the things, and the reason for that is because usually comedy music is mixed in a certain way where it's a very barely there music way in the background, kind of a simple beat that doesn't really do much of anything, and it's just like the mixing is just like the vocals front, center, and only thing that matters, and because they're delivering the jokes, but this doesn't fall into that trap because they care about delivering the tight parody in the music as well. Like everything, it feels like it's just the song. You're still listening to the song, and then they like the great foundation of jokes is like you make everything else invisible by it fitting in place just fine, and that makes the joke stand out. All the musicianship is there of like even the parodies, so it doesn't stand out with its tightness, and then the joke stands out. This is where it starts to definitely grow for him on this album. And you can hear that, and the songs are fun, and there's so many different styles, even in like the originals and the pastiches rather than the outright parodies. But let's drill down into those songs specifically as we get into the key tracks. Brett, what would be some of the key tracks for you?
Well, Fat. I think we have to talk about Fat.
Do we though?
We do. They would not make there are some things that I think are going to age poorly, and that is like humor that is like this, but it comes in a fairly positive way, even though it is sung by a guy in a fat suit dancing around. It could be more cringe than it is. I'm surprised it's not more. This song is just 6 words long. It's a solid dunk on that terrible George Harrison song. And like I like how halfway into the song it talks about having to stretch it for 3 minutes, and 2-3 minutes, and not unlike our friend Justin's rapping Hitler. They have a gag that I love where it's there's a rhyme that's supposed to come up here. Wait, no, it doesn't rhyme, or the joke. Like it's just these little nuggets in there. You make me. Coming back to this album in adulthood, like knowing that what Danny Elfman has done with xylophones across America, from movies and television shows and stuff, where I did not know when I was a child what the hell an Oingo Boingo was. Like I enjoyed coming back to that. I think they did a very good job. Velvet Elvis. Holy crap! Like that's a thing. Like that's a nugget from yesteryear. But boy, did they nail the police! Like there is madness. How like I can't believe the drums that like, and the way the and another one I forgot. I could not do a better parody of the BC Boys, like I'm gonna say a line, and at the end of it we all 3 shout the word, like that kind of, like it's so tight, it's so perfect in Twister. And yeah, shout out to Milton Bradley. Not the baseball player.
No at least not in this context. David, what would be some of the key tracks for you?
Stuck in a Closet with Vanna White. I felt like this was right on par with I Lost on Jeopardy and Dare to Be Stupid, and as far as early Weird Al sort of original songs go, in that it was pretty good. You could see that Weird Al was really showing that he was more than just a parody artist. I asked myself about the song Lasagna. Could you make this song in 2021? Probably not. Probably not. But it was amusing. And
a guy named Al Yankovic probably couldn't make that album.
No.
But
although
it's a different time. Long time ago.
Very different. And also, which one was it? Alimony. Yes, Alimony. That one was equally amusing, and the aforementioned Velvet Elvis. You hear Weird Al doing something very unique, and it's one of his trademarks as a vocalist, where he intentionally cracks his voice for comedic effect. Because Weird Al can sing, but singing badly is funny.
Yes, exactly.
But he sings badly good.
Yes, exactly.
It's like trying to watch a professional basketball player brick a free throw on purpose. It's kind of like, wow, you can do that badly. Very good.
Yeah. Drew, what would be some of the key tracks for you?
While we're on the subject of basketball, like Brett said, George Harrison dunks are not exactly what you come to Weird Al for, but the song is just 6 words long, is one of the bits that was like, oh, okay, it's like Albuquerque. It keeps going, and the bit keeps evolving, and fucking inventive. That's funny. Velvet Elvis. 1, I like the Police, so good on you. And 2, that's a funny picture in my head of the person singing their Velvet Elvis in a loving way. That's funny. And then there are, when I make up like comedy playlists, if I include a Weird Al song, Good Old Days legit had me cracking up. Good Old Days was really funny. And if I could use a phrase that the people he's describing may use, I'll label this, as far as Weird Al goes, one of the good ones.
Yes. Yes.
Glad I got a chuckle at Deej knowing exactly what the fuck I was on about.
Yeah, these are some fantastic tracks. Fat is obviously the classic hit, and that'll be the one that catches everyone's attention. But yeah, like it's been said about You Make Me. I like that it just starts. It introduces the absurdism element, where just like kind of like just wild concepts, and like he'll include a line of like the weirdest string of words that make grammatical sense, and then just a basic idea, just a basic mundane idea. It does it really well.
I mean, in Dare to Be Stupid, he said it's like spitting on a fish, which anybody who can come up with musical lines like that, like
he's a Hall of Famer. He's a Hall of Famer.
He's a Hall of Famer. Good Old Days is just like Drew has said. It hits differently. It's just a fantastic send up of like those like especially of the time, those cloying folksy Americana nostalgia tracks. Literally, like it says in the Wikipedia, James Taylor and all the like. I like that he specifically described it. And I like the description. It says that he wanted to see if he could write a song as if Charlie Manson and James Taylor were collaborating, which that was fantastic.
That happened in 1968.
I mean, there's a non-zero chance that they cross paths.
Yeah. But I like that idea. It's like the send up of folksy nostalgia is a beautiful thing to me. And it works well.
And they did a great job of it. It's got like the 12-string guitar jangle, like it's got all the folk instruments in it, like the hand percussion, like white people.
It all fits, and it is all. It does. Nothing seems out of place until what needs to feel out of place appears. So that's the key thing.
Cats mohawks.
That's the key. That's the key to comedy, people. You heard it here first.
And don't explain the joke.
The misdirect.
Exactly, the misdirect. The swerve, if you will. And of course lasagna, because it made me hungry and I like pasta.
And hates
Thanks,
Mondays.
Yes. I like lasagna. I like a spaghetti and meatballs.
Fuck off, normal.
I have cans of San Marzano tomatoes in the kitchen that I'm at some point will make sauce out of. I'm looking forward to it. And I'm about to sneeze.
Is there like the sauce culture is one that I like? I got a bunch of big burly men that spend entire days like their Saturday afternoon being like, I'm making this sauce. That's the.
Yeah, it takes about like 45 minutes.
I just I like the thought of a bunch of burly Italian men
like
sitting around an oven being like, I'm making a sauce.
Making a sauce.
Just forever.
Drew, you good?
Yeah. Making a sauce.
I'm not doing the caricature. I'm just thinking about the way the movies portray a bunch of guys standing around making a sauce. I'm like,
you good?
Gotta make a nice roux. Like what?
Oh, roux.
I'm here.
I need to order
sorry, I
good quality.
I don't have the same jokes for indiscriminate Indiana white guy. Like I don't.
I mean, it would be the same thing. It'd just be a different pot of boiling something. Yes. We all got one, and we stir it like every 5 minutes or so, and be like, something smells good in there.
Yeah. But yeah, let's bring it back around the horn. Talk about some conclusive thoughts. David, what would be your conclusion on this album as a whole?
I think this album is a victim of the time it was made. Controversial opinion. I don't think a lot of the music from the 80s was very good. And I think this album and Weird Al suffers for it. There are some quality parody songs here, but none of my favorites from Al. I think most of his output after this is better. You don't see Al flipping through genres as well as he does here. It's all just kind of middle of the road, universal appeal 80s pop rock for the most part, with only a few deviations here and there. But Weird Al raises that material because he's a national treasure and he's a genius. I think Stuck in the Closet with Vanna White is a highlight, and we all know that already. He put out better albums afterwards.
Yeah. Drew, what would be your conclusion on this album as a whole?
The album's iconic. It's something where I think you know where you land on Weird Al in general. Before you hear this album from front to back. Will it change your mind one way or another? Probably not. Is there some good jokes? Yeah. Of course there is. It's Weird Al. Jokes are kind of what he does. From the Dr. Demento show to being an iconic pop culture zeitgeist lightning rod, to being hated on by Coolio. He's someone that's kind of always has been there. He's about due for an album, so I wouldn't be surprised. Especially after the weird last couple of years.
He has in fact said he will not be doing a song called My Corona. That is on record.
Yeah.
I wasn't even gonna assume that he was because he's smarter than that.
Yeah, he would have come up with something more clever.
Right, it just seems too distasteful. But that said, it's something that you either can get down with it or you don't. You gotta be in a special mood for parody songs like this.
Well, you don't sit down on a date night, light 2 candles, and put on some Weird Al, set the mood.
I've had that happen.
Yeah, that's like when you create a mixtape, that's the ebb and flow, right? You start with Barry White, you go with Prince, and then the apex is Albuquerque by Weird Al. Like,
yeah, you put Gump on there, and it really gets the juices flowing.
No, it's Trapped in the Drive-Thru. Come on, guys.
I thought you were going to go Trapped Headstrong.
Oh, God.
Oh, God, no. Nobody needs to ever acknowledge that song or that band.
Please.
Ever again.
I lived through indie wrestling in the 2000s. We don't ever need to hear that.
I might even censor that name. I might even censor that name when I edit this.
I mean, he's on some bullshit recently.
Petey, cut that out. Cut that out.
We're giving oxygen.
Not even because of that. Just on musical quality alone, I'll edit that out.
It's
on
bad.
musical quality alone, I don't want to bleep that man's name.
They wouldn't have gotten into the. It's not just because of the morality clause. They wouldn't have gotten into the Hall of Fame for standard reasons.
Yes. Yes. That being said. Weird Al Yankovic, yes, like has been said, is a national treasure. He's an international treasure. He's a global treasure, and he's an icon.
Nicolas Cage is going to go track him down.
Exactly.
And they're going to save the world.
Daylight savings. We got to find Weird Al.
If Weird Al is due for anything, he's due for another movie.
I mean, I'm 100% down there.
Hell yeah,
I'll watch it.
Netflix greenlight that shit, man.
Bo Burnham can get a special. Weird Al can pull something.
Yeah. This album. This album probably won't hit for a lot of people. Like has been said, if you weren't into 80s music, this doesn't. You can only elevate your source material so much. There's a lot of fun songs in here.
I don't know. I Want a New Duck is pretty amazing. You can elevate like that. It's already a good song.
But this album is fun. This album is an important.
It's not all about the Pentiums, though.
No, but there are ample opportunities to find the Weird Al that works for you. But I think this one is worth at least checking out and appreciating and enjoying for the time capsule that it is for music and for Weird Al. If it doesn't end up being like your thing that you want to listen to much more after that, that's fine. But I think it's worth checking out and worth enjoying if you're out there.
Scissors, Bad Hair Day, Mandatory Fun, Alpocalypse.
Yes, there's a lot of options. Like I said, this one is also worth checking out and experiencing at least once, and it's fun. But yes, Brett. Last but not least, what would be your conclusion on this album as a whole?
I don't know. Listen to it. I think the culture has rewarded Al Yankovic for his work. So whatever I say is not going to have any real bearing, and also. Most people are going to hear most of this. Well, not most of the songs. This is actually one of the albums that you don't really see people talk about individual songs, at least in my walking around talking about Weird Al that I do. But there's some good things to be in here, just so you can hear. There's a lot of the production is so much different than other ways that Weird Al did stuff. Like in the future, like it wasn't just nailing like the feel like that parody of Monet Monet had the fake live music. Like there's stuff to it, and they don't even record live music like that anymore. So it's very of its time, but in a way, like, go out and listen to your Spinal Taps, but Spinal Tap isn't as impressive musically. It's funny. There's some things in here that like straight up blew my mind. So like that's me. I like this, and if you don't, I don't care, because I have my Weird Al time, and I got to listen to Weird Al for like 2 weeks
Yeah.
And then I got to talk about it.
Yes. Yeah. Those are our thoughts on Weird
Check
Al's
out
Even
all
Worse.
of Weird Al's catalog. He's genuinely great.
Yes.
Take that, Luke Ski.
Yes. Yeah. Check out check out this album. Now we get to the main event of the evening. Main event of the album. Main event of the evening. The moment we've all been waiting for. Our haiku reviews, where we sum it all up in poetic form. With 575. Let's get down to the nitty gritty. Haikumuro numero
Down
no.
to the nitty gritty.
Haikumuro numero no.
Chill.
David, what is your haiku?
Not his best album, but it's really not his fault. The 80s weren't great.
Yes. Drew, what is your haiku?
Iconic album. Jokes kind of don't hit for me. Not really my cup.
My haiku. His songs are funny, and his name's great for haikus. Weird Al Yankovic. And last but not least, Brett, what is your haiku?
Another from Al. Parodies and pastiches. Childhood memories.
Yeah. Go ahead and check this album out on our Spotify playlist. Play Record Breakers the home game. Do your due diligence and your due diligence. Follow along at home. Both playlists. We have one with episodes mixed in and one without the episodes mixed in. So you have both options for binging or just following along. Yeah, on that Spotify playlist, presumably, is going to be next week's album. And the album is provided by Drew. Drew, what have you got for us finally?
Oh, this album's on Spotify. So in the back chat, rolled 2 random dice, both picked by not random dice, but we rolled 2 chances.
I'm not on that show.
David picked both of them.
That's how I
we're
pick.
going with
Space
the more
Truck and
recent
Hog.
of a popular album. And by popular, I mean Super Bowl performance popular. We're going with The Weeknd's After Hours.
Hey.
The Weeknd. Ladies and gentlemen,
The Weeknd.
that.
So look forward to that. That'll be next week, and this is this week. And you can of course find us all over the
Going
internet.
for that SEO, huh, Drew?
Yeah, just trying to draw the whatever draws.
It's all right. Got to
the
get some numbers. It's all right.
Got to
It's
put
all
the
good.
butts in the seats,
Yeah.
and then have them yell at us in the comments.
Lil Uzi Vert's gonna be
Bitches. I don't care.
Yeah, like let's cover the Fugees again.
We'll do a whole episode where we'll praise on them, and then they'll still talk shit, and that's gonna be awesome.
Dorks.
But you can of course find us all over the internet. David is at Call Me DJM. Britt is at HibbityBirbit HIBBITYBIBBARD. Drew is at Extrusive for X. I'm at PD Rave. The show's at 4 Record Breakers. That's the number 4 Record Breakers. RecordBreakersPodcast.com. RecordBreakersPodcast@gmail.com. Rebelly.net for this and other shows. Rebelly TV on YouTube and on Twitch. Follow us along at Twitch. We stream all week. We have a whole schedule of streams where we play D&D on Tuesdays. We do Record Breakers on Wednesdays. We do Space Trucking on Thursdays. We play Starbound. Really fun time. I do Let's Play on Fridays. Lately I'm doing Mass Effect. If it's far in the future, who knows what I'm doing then. But check out the schedule on the Rebelli TV page. Follow us everywhere you find podcasts. Like, share, subscribe, do all the things. Until next time, hasta los huevos.
Toodaloo.
Rebelli Podcast, baby. 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 Baby.
Here it goes.
Baby.
There we go.
Baby.
Mouth noise squiggles.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
Is that still a thing?